What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. Can't really decide how I want to do the intro. Is it like same dance, different season? I'm not sure it is. I don't know. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about how everything broke down with Oklahoma State, how Arkansas just kind of gave this one away. And we're going to talk about UAB a little bit. We're going to look ahead to the rest of the schedule as well. And Danny West is going to hop on with us. All that and more on today's episode of Hawg Sports Live. A lot of ways to watch and listen to the show, people. I want to thank everybody for the 5-star reviews. I want to thank you for the thumbs up, the likes on all the different platforms. Speaking of, once again, I got to get us going on Instagram. And boom, we are going live on Instagram now. So we're on X, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. I think that's everywhere. Yeah. So obviously a very disappointing loss. I've gone back and watched the game just over and over again in depth, just torture myself. I'm sure some of you have done that too. I don't know what maybe is different about this season than last year to me in a lot of ways is I feel like the scheme and the personnel is good enough for them to win. And last year I felt like at times they just looked sloppy. And I mean, you guys remember last year. I'm not telling you anything. It's not like you didn't watch the games, but they just look explosive potentially on offense, and defense I think has come along. In fact, I thought the secondary was better than I gave them credit for earlier. I felt like the front seven would be pretty strong, but I felt like the secondary is better. The disappointing thing in this one is there's 5 plays in there that cost Arkansas the game. Any of those go a different way, then maybe Arkansas wins. That's the difference too. And one of the reasons I picked Arkansas to go 5-7 this season is because I would have felt a lot better about things if Arkansas was in its second year with a lot of the same personnel, so many new players, and second year in Bobby Petrino's offense. And we saw that, like the UAPB game, for example, it was great because they were so crisp and everything went according to plan. And it was like almost perfect, right? But the problem with why it wasn't perfect is because they were never tested. They were never put through any type of adversity the entire game. They never fumbled a ball and had the moment of, oh, I took my eyes off the ball. I started moving before the snap got to me, or I started looking for where I'm going to hit the hole before, or never had any special teams errors like the Cross Johnson stuff, which I don't know what's going on there, but that's got to get corrected. But you never had any of those kinds of things. And that's stuff that you can kind of draw from later on, when you go into the game. Okay, I got to make sure I focus here, or something like that. Just some other things. I thought Taylor Green was probably, Keyshawn Blackstoff didn't seal that guy off, but I also thought that Taylor Green was probably too deep in his drop. And that makes it very hard to throw that pass right out of the gate. I felt like Arkansas at that point was absolutely dominating Oklahoma State on the road in their place, and we're only up 7. Then they go down there and score again, of course. But at halftime, that was what worried me most was, okay, they're utterly dominating Oklahoma State. They're up by 2 scores. That's a little scary. And I said to the guy next to me, like, they better make sure they win by 2 scores because I don't like a 1-score game. In fact, let's look at what I wrote here. Do I have that pulled up? This was my pregame prediction. I had people all week telling me, like, Trey, it's a new team, 55 new players. That was last year. Well, some things are the same. All week when I've made points about the struggle, this is, I guess, Thursday when we release this, maybe Friday. All week when I've made points about the struggles Arkansas has had in the past when it comes to finishing games, Hog fans let me know this is a new year and a new team with a roster comprised of 55 new faces. They're right. I know offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino is as tricky as there is when it comes to late game-winning play calls. On top of it, I actually like the matchup for the Razorback offense. And I think they've got a pretty decent front 7 on defense. OSU has some studs, but top to bottom, I think I actually like Arkansas's personnel better. But I told myself the same thing I told you all offseason. Just let yourself be pleasantly surprised if things go well this season. Don't let them hurt you by building up expectations ahead of crushing defeats. If it happens, it happens, and everyone can celebrate. I certainly believe it can happen. Almost feel like it should happen, but still, 31-27 Oklahoma State. I'm not saying that to say, like, look how right I was. I'm just saying that, like, after the walk and talk, people are like, why aren't you angrier, Trey? Why aren't you more upset? Well, this is just kind of what I thought was going to happen. I was on Drive Time over and over again on Thursday when we did score predictions. And I was just saying, my heart is telling me to go with Arkansas, but my mind just keeps telling me, I was about to do that song. My mind's telling me no, but my mind keeps telling me no. Yeah, I mean, it's just it all felt a little typical. At the same time, it felt like Arkansas was really explosive. And I'll tell you what, and I stop a little bit of saying, like, they can fix the issues because the L still is there and the L is not going away, and it should. And there's some games that Arkansas, the 2-10 in his last one possession games is misleading, and it's on the nose at the same time, because there are times like, Alabama last year, Arkansas wasn't as good as Alabama. They really didn't have any business being in that game. They still lost by only 3 points. They were kind of, that would have been a massive upset. But there are other games like, Texas A&M in 2022, Texas A&M, where Arkansas just did something really stupid. But I felt like Arkansas personnel-wise was better, scheme better than Texas A&M on that day, and they lost. That's what this game felt more like. BYU last year, better team, lost the game. I felt like Arkansas. I feel like if Arkansas and Oklahoma State go out there and play again, I really like Arkansas's chances. But you can't have those. You can't have those mistakes. There's like 5 of them. I mean, 5 gifts in that game that obviously you'd like to have back. Let's look at UAB real quick. Bet Saracen has Arkansas at minus 24.5. You can bet the money line at minus 3,000. That's a lot. And the over-under at 59.5. I think Arkansas will probably rest up a little bit, maybe rest some guys. There, Sam Pittman, the injury report, we'll talk about that here in a second. But there's, some guys that are probably a little dinged up, but I don't know that anybody's just like long-term out of the game. But I could see, Luke has looked like he hurt his back a little bit. Pittman says he's fine, but I could see maybe resting him up a little bit. Arkansas should absolutely win this game. Landon Jackson's got a little bit of a shoulder that caused him to miss a little bit of practice last week. There was a lot of scuttlebutt about whether he was going to be out or out for the season, all kinds of stuff about that. Patrick Kudos not going to be back yet either. So, just looking ahead at the rest of the SEC, Texas looked dominant. I didn't see it. I don't know why I said they looked dominant. I just see the score, 31-12. I was watching the Arkansas game, just saw a few clips and stuff. Didn't always tell the story. Texas A&M bounced back against McNeese. Texas A&M is a winnable game. Arkansas can win that game. I'm not saying they will. This isn't a prediction. I'm just saying there are certain games on the schedule they can win. UAB this weekend, Auburn. Auburn lost to Cal 21-14, I think. Texas A&M and Arlington, Mississippi State, Louisiana Tech are all games that I would almost say they should win. Okay, doesn't mean they're going to win all those. And then I think you reach another group of games. Missouri, because they're on the road in Columbia, and Arkansas has never won there. Tennessee looks really good. That's what I was worried about this year. I just heard so much good talk about Nico, that quarterback. Tennessee looks really good. They'll be coming off a bye week in Fayetteville. Texas looks really good. And then Ole Miss, of course, we know that they're going to be a lot of offense. Lane Kiffin's never won in Fayetteville, though. So those 4 games are going to be real difficult, but there's still a path to get to 6 or even 7 wins possibly. I'm not predicting that. I'm sticking with my 5 and 7 that I predicted at the beginning of the season. That hasn't changed because I need to see them play clean. I need them to stop finding ways to lose. And we can talk about, well, they need to do a better job of ball security or things on, some stuff on special teams. They need to do a better job on that kind of stuff. But it feels like it's almost just something else. This is interesting. So I screenshotted a couple of can everybody hear me all right? Make sure I'm volume good. Everybody got me? I don't see any complaints. So one Oklahoma State fan was like, hey, don't worry, Arkansas fans. Mike Gundy wins these games all the time. This is, they'll be down. They look out of it and they come back and win. And I'm just like, you know what? I feel like Arkansas is the other team every time. The team that looks like it's going to win and things just kind of fall apart. I feel like Arkansas is the other guys. As an Oklahoma State fan, I remember going into halftime saying, I feel like the sky is falling and we're only down 14. This is winnable. Let Gunny hang around. He'll find a way. It may be the ugliest win you've ever seen, but he'll find a way. That must be nice. I'd take an ugly win. I'd have taken the ugly win. As an Oklahoma State fan, this feels like getting your ass kicked for your lunch money and then having it fall out of dude's pocket while he's walking away. I can't remember a more disappointing win. Yeah. All right, so injury report real quick. I almost said undoubtful. It's doubtful on Patrick Kudus. Let's see. Marquise Robinson had a stinger before the game. We were wondering why we didn't see Marquise Robinson. So he got a stinger, I guess, in his shoulder, and it just went numb, and it never came back. You know, I think like maybe something like Colt McCoy during that national championship game years ago, Texas and Alabama, when he got hit on the shoulder, and it was just like he couldn't throw the ball anymore. So that's what happened to Marquise Robinson. I guess frozen shoulder. Hudson Clark had a back issue. He played some on special teams, but he didn't go back in. Hudson Clark had a really nice play in the game. Secondary, I thought overall played pretty well. I mean, yeah, you give up plays here and there. That's just kind of how it is. But I thought overall they played pretty well. Jalen Braxton's dealing with some tendonitis. We knew that. He's been dealing with that since at least camp. Jaquin Jackson, you know, I asked Sam about that. Like, why did that happen? And really, you know, if you think back to it, he didn't play in any of the scrimmages because of injury. They held him out of some stuff, and, you know, getting into football shape has been a little bit of a challenge for him. So they just have to really make sure 48 hours before this game and the next game that they really push those fluids on him. And obviously having this first game under his belt should be fine. Luke has looked like he hurt his back a little bit, but he said Luke's fine. But yeah, that's an interesting deal on Marquise Robinson, and kind of a weird, you know, Andy Bowman was, you know, kind of talking trash about it. You know, we didn't see him, but we heard everything he was saying and stuff. Well, you know what? They kicked your ass 33-6. I thought he, you know, his penalty, he's like doing like this to the Arkansas sideline. Like, he's 24 years old. You look like an 8-year-old doing that, dude. Like, grow up. And those comments are pretty ridiculous too. I mean, not impressed with demeanor of the Oklahoma State quarterback. In fact, yeah, not impressed. So, yeah, but anyway, Marquise Robinson, like a frozen shoulder type of deal. If you ever feel like your internet is frozen, then maybe you should switch. I got some people to tell you about. Ozarks Go, our friends over at Ozarks Go. You can reach them at 479-684-4900. You can reach them at ozarksgo.net/hawg. That's HAWG. And if you use the promo code when you sign up, Biddy1, BIDDY1, then you'll get a month free. So what I always say about Ozarks Go that I love about them is I've never gone upstairs to my router and unplugged it and plugged it back in again. I've never had to, because it's always worked. Okay. We're not getting in arguments in my house about why the internet doesn't work, because I'm like the tech support guy around here. We're never having like, why won't the internet work? Why can't I get the TV? My show's not working, all that kind of stuff, because it just works. Ozarks Go offers several different tiers of internet. I use the multi-gig. For most people, I think gigabit is super good. I mean, I think that's probably fine. There's also other tiers that they offer. They're in Northwest Arkansas, parts of Oklahoma, I think north of the tunnel, and they're local. So when you call them, you're going to talk to somebody from around here that knows the area that you're talking about. ozarksgo.net/hawg, 479-684-4900. Check them out. Stamp of approval. What is that? Lame. Dork. All right, so UAB lost to Alcorn State in their opener 41-3, and then they were trounced by ULM 32-6 last week. So not a good start for the Blazers. Not at all. Wasn't long ago they were like going to give up football as a university. I think they even announced that they were giving up football. Trent Dilfer, people my age remember Trent Dilfer really well. He's 52 years old now. But spent a lot of years in the NFL, Super Bowl winning quarterback, was on television for a long time as an analyst, and then went and coached at Lipscomb Academy, which is a high school. I don't even know where Lipscomb Academy is. Maybe Pennsylvania or something. Anyway, His last 3 years, they went 11-3, 13-1, and 13-0. And the next thing you know, he's the head coach at UAB. They went 4-8 last year, 1-1. Wait a minute. Is that right? Do I have that wrong? Oh, my bad. Okay. Apologies. They beat Alcorn State. I don't know why I had this written down wrong. They beat Alcorn State 41-3. Okay. Sorry about that. They lost 32-6 to ULM, though, last week. So they did beat the FCS school. My apologies. Somebody's out there going, whoa, wait a minute. I can't think of anything lamer than this as a celebration. I mean, please don't make a meme of me doing that, or a GIF or anything. It's so lame. Out of all the things that you could do to taunt somebody, you're going to act like an 8-year-old going down the sideline. I can't even say what I want to say. All right. So Jacob Zeno, 45 of 64, 382 yards, starting quarterback for the Blazers. Lee Beebe Jr., 29 carries for 144 yards. And Cam Shanks is their leading receiver with 10 catches for 116 yards. No touchdowns yet. They have, let's see. Yeah. Anyway, that's the main things. Like, you guys don't want me to talk about UAB that much. Arkansas should trounce these guys. This should be an afterthought. It's crazy to think about that this is the first game. We're in week 3. This is the first game in Fayetteville. That should never happen. That should never happen. That's a disservice to your fans. All right, so do I want to look at this one more time, like everything that I figured out from looking at the game? I thought Arkansas was bailed out by that block below the waist, which was a block below the waist. You thought that might kind of take the wind out of their sails, but they settled for a field goal. This is the second half. So they gave one real gift in the first half, that pick six. Okay. And that's a football play. It's a football play. So it's hard to just say it's a gift because Oklahoma State made a play on the ball. So it's a football play. But the first gift was just Jaquindon Jackson taking his eyes off the ball, fumbling it there. Still, I think they only went down and got a field goal out of that. So defense stayed strong again. Gift number 3 was that missed field goal, the 41-yard missed field goal. That should be a make. You got to make that. Like Sam Pittman says pregame, hey, we feel great 42 yards in. And he missed that field goal. He barely missed it. It was that much. I'll also say I felt like the snap was a little bit outside. Not that it was, Arkansas obviously had some drama a little bit with losing their long snapper. But he got it down, and it should have been made. It's a 41-yard kick. You got to make 85, 90% of those, okay, in college football. Ramsey was 93% last year on field goal tries at Abilene Christian, 93%. I believe that Shipley was 88%. So, you make 80% of your field goals, as Scott Fountain said, in the preseason, you're going to have a pretty good football team. So when you get to a 40-yard line, 42 yards or so, you ought to be making almost all of those on this level. And I think it's a little interesting that when Arkansas came up on that 4th and 5 later, that Sam Pittman decided to go for it. And I said this in the walk and talk. I always say kick it. I always say take the points. Okay. And you can say, hey, they're not guaranteed and all this kind of stuff. They should be. And if you feel good going in about a 42-yard field goal, and just because he misses one, you can't lose all confidence in your kicker. You just can't just be like, oh my gosh, we got to have a kicking competition and all this kind of stuff. And the other kick later, which went out to 46 yards, Taylon Green in overtime cannot take that sack. He's got 4 seconds to throw. He's got to throw it out of the back of the end zone. There wasn't anybody open. Throw it out of the back of the end zone. Live to fight another day. That kick would have probably made it from what would have been like 40 yards, maybe 40 yards. I think it ended up being 46 yards, but it just tailed off at the end. It's disappointing because you can't miss those kind of kicks. Those need to be right down the pipe. Like they do. Got to be better there. Special teams, very disappointing. Very disappointing because offense, defense dominated aside from the turnovers. One busted play, which happens. It was a flea flicker. I mean, we all use that in college football, and you know what I'm talking about. So, yeah. Gift number 4 was the fumbled punt. Like, what's going on there? That's 2 times in a row. You call fair catch. There's no need to try to rush to get in front of your man. Like, you're not blocking anybody. You have to be aware of what's going on. And Cross Johnson, you know, he's a freshman, first big game. That's on Scott Fountain. I mean, that's personnel. That's got to do better than that. You cannot let a play like that happen. You're just giving the game away, just finding ways to give it away, to keep them in it. And it's sad because really dominating up until that point. Gift 5. What did I have? Miscommunication. Oh, yeah, you had that miscommunication. Yeah, should have kicked the 40-yard field goal. That, to me, was a gift going for it on 4th and 5 there. You had the flea flicker bust, 4 flags on the final drive of regulation, including the 2 on Slaughter, and then Oklahoma State had 2 against them. So lame. And then the false start, which, by the way, the game should have been over. So I picked Arkansas to lose this game 31-27, and Oklahoma State should have won it 31-28. That should have been the final score because Anton Junkaj absolutely jumped into the neutral zone. He was not drawn off, and the offensive lineman, left tackle, reacted to it. That is a neutral zone infraction on Arkansas. That should have given. And here's another thing. Like, why isn't everybody saying, look, guys, it's 4th and 4. They're lining up like they're going to run a play. If they run a play, they have to score a touchdown. They're not going to run a play. So this is all a ploy to get you to jump off sides. Like, why hasn't that been like expressly mentioned to these guys? Don't even move. Don't even move. They are not running a play here. But they do a hard count, clap, move the tight end in motion. Junkaj jumps into the neutral zone. The offensive lineman correctly reacts to get the flag, and the ref screwed it up. And otherwise, Oklahoma State wins right there. I was really disappointed also, and I talked to Sam about this today, the final drive of the game. And I remember Sam saying after the game that he was proud of the way they marched down the field, but I knew that once he goes back and looks at it, he's going to see a lot of wasted time. And going back and watching, I heard one of the announcers say Arkansas butchered this, and they did. That first, after the run, which is a fine play call, get the first down, the clock stops, but you ought to be lined up over the ball, ready when that referee takes his hand out and they wind the clock. 2 seconds, no more than 2 seconds come off that clock. But instead, you've got Taylor Green kind of leaning back, I guess maybe listening. You got wide receivers going back and forth the field. Somebody comes across in motion. I mean, what is going on? I counted, Pittman had it at 15 seconds. I counted it at 14 seconds, which they lost about 7 seconds off that play clock, which is an entire play and maybe a play and a half when you're hurrying like that. And then at the end, after that Andrew Armstrong catch, same thing. Like, you're lining up to run a play. That's got to be clocked. It's got to be clocked right there as fast as possible and then run the play. Yeah, you're going to lose a couple seconds, but you lost way more just getting the snap and all that. So you're going to lose that anyway on the snap. You're going to lose that time anyway. I just thought it was, and credit, they got down there and they kicked a field goal to send it in overtime. But you probably threw away a couple of plays, where, Andrew Armstrong catches that one pass out of, and then you maybe got a shot to throw it in the end zone. Maybe probably twice before you have to kick that field goal. So I just thought, like, these are very precious seconds. This is stuff that you work on all camp, 2 minute every single day. I don't know why they call it 2 minute anymore. It's more like 1 minute. But you work on that every day to finish practice, and it's got to be perfect because these games, the saying is, this is a game of inches. It's a game of seconds. these games come down to, because these offense can score so fast now. I mean, it's a game of seconds. That's coin that, by the way, not to be used without express written permission of Trey Biddy, HawgSports. Game of seconds. It's the first time. It's the first time it's said. All right. Yeah, in overtime, obviously Xavier Sori cannot suplex that guy. As well as he played, that was rough. And then as well as the defense played, Ollie Gordon scores on that 12-yard touchdown, and then he has the 2-point conversion catch. I mean, he's there at the end for him. But defense played really well. Would have liked to have seen Braylon Russell. 4th and 1. Would have liked to have seen Braylon Russell. I mean, I would have liked to have seen Braylon Russell in the game early. I don't want that to be his first carry. But and I say that too. Like what I really wanted to see was like a waggle from Taylon or something else, something to where the ball, he has maybe the option to throw the ball, but can also take off. Because I think it probably would have been stuffed no matter who was running the ball, even if you had a 252-pound back instead of a 180-pound back. I don't mean to come down on Rodney Hill or, Jordan Anthony. I think that those guys need to be used a little bit differently. I thought the throw to the end zone on Arkansas's first drive was just kind of a throwaway play. I didn't like that. Like that's Andrew Armstrong, Tyrone Broden type of play, not Jordan Anthony. And 4th and 1 with the game on the line, maybe not Rodney Hill's spot either. Yeah, I know you had to put another back in the game, but I'm just saying. Okay, let's go to where are we at here? Actually, hold on. Where I want to be. Yeah, I think so. All right, let's hop over to Danny West. Danny West does a great job for us. You guys can follow him at Danny West 24/7. Is the HawgSports recruiting analyst and has been with us a long, long time, doing a great job. Danny called a close win for Arkansas. Went with his heart.
Hey, what's up, man?
How's it going, Danny?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
It's going good. I mean, it's disappointing, obviously, the way the game ended. You would like to have seen Arkansas come out on the winning side, and probably should have come out on the winning side. But I thought Sam Pittman made a pretty good point. As disappointing as it is to hear, Oklahoma State, those guys had 21 starters coming back. They knew their team, and in a lot of ways, Arkansas is still learning a lot about their guys.
Just weren't ready to win that type of game, were they?
No.
I mean, they had the better team, but, I thought about it all weekend.
Better personnel.
Yeah. And you got to be careful in how you phrase that, because the better team, the more prepared team is the one that won, right?
Right.
I mean, they've been in that situation and they know how to win it, and they just kind of sat back even when it was 21-7, Trey. They kept showing Gundy on the sideline, no freak out, no panic.
Until they tried to put that extra time on.
Yeah, he freaked out a little bit on that
over
one.
Nothing.
I don't think he understood.
I don't think he did either, but that looks so. My wife was like, "You look like an idiot."
Yeah, I don't think he had it on that one. But you know what? They didn't get rattled. They just sat back and said, "Hey, let's see if Arkansas will screw it up for themselves," and they dang sure did, over and over and over again. So I picked the Hogs, Trey, and I still feel like I picked the better roster and the more talented team. Definitely.
I think you picked the better scheme on offense and defense.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I was feeling my oats there at halftime, sitting there thinking, boy, I'm going to show up on HawgSports Live Monday. Trey and Connor picked Oklahoma State. I was feeling pretty good. I said, I'm going to walk in like Ric Flair, and then, Hogs going hog, I guess.
Yeah. It's disappointing. I mean, there's reasons to be encouraged out of it, Danny, at the same time, but I also feel like they're just going to figure out some other kind of way.
That was, man, coaches are going to say the right thing, and that's their job. They're saying it's one game, it's not a conference game, but that was a really, really big game, dude.
Yeah,
really important game
for a guy on the hottest seat of anybody in the country. Yeah, it was.
It's a big one that we've talked about all year. So they lost it. You got to try to make up for it. The good news is, I guess Auburn maybe looks a little more beatable than expected. I think California is probably a little better than expected, but
Pac-12 teams aren't looking bad. Old Pac-12.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Big 12 too, man. They kind of got a little log jam after the weekend. I noticed Utah 12th Oklahoma State up to 13th. Not sure I don't love that, but
yeah,
they were good enough to win it. And then 14th, right behind them, is K-State. And I want to say Oklahoma State plays Utah and K-State here in the next 3 weeks. So that Big 12 picture ought to clarify pretty quickly here. But yeah, I was disappointed in the ending, Trey. The good, bad, and ugly. Just general thoughts. I think they've got something with Taylon Green, don't you? I mean,
yeah.
I know people are on him. He frustrates you.
I hate seeing people acting like he
man.
was a pro. Like he's not perfect.
He's not perfect, but it's week 2 under Bobby Petrino. Wait till Bobby really polishes this one. You know, I mean, this kid is at times, Trey. The dude is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell he's got like next level type stuff. He's just got to chill out. I think it's moving a little bit fast for him still. But, man, I remember a time we used to watch Ryan Mallett screw up all the time. All the time. And I'm not saying, he's Mallett, not a comparison, but it's going to slow down for him. And when it does, buddy, he's going to be one of the top 3 or 4 in the conference, I would think.
I agree with you, Danny. I think that it is frustrating because I see some people talk like, where's Malachi Singleton? Let's see him,
oh, come on, man.
Like that wasn't the issue.
No.
There were some mistakes. He took that hit through that interception, put a couple of balls on the ground. He had a bad throw. He had one throw that I thought was, pretty bad. And it was that wheel route, late in the game, and he threw it at somebody's feet. I can't remember. Was it
Rodney? I believe.
Yeah,
Rodney coming out of the backfield. Yeah.
But aside from that, I mean, we can't expect perfection. We just can't. But that guy is. I think if Arkansas can get some things cleaned up and they don't find new ways to lose the game, I think he's in the category of reasons that they will win games.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was kind of a question you going into the preseason. I think maybe even you put it in one of our staff predictions. Is Taylon Green capable of going to win a game for you? And I'm still not sure we have the answer. Now, he had his opportunities, but there was so much that went wrong that wasn't Taylon Green that is just tough for him to overcome that at a top 20 on the road that knows how to win. Anyway.
It felt like Arkansas should have won by 17.
Absolutely it did. Yeah, I still feel that way. But at least he's got some legitimate weapons too, man. I mean, I think Jackson and Armstrong they could play for just a bit. And Luke.
Satania.
I mean, there's some complimentary guys. But I mean, SEC no doubters. Armstrong, Jackson, and I think Luke, when he's healthy and when they've, emphasized him, I think he's as good as any. So
what also
he's got weapons.
What also kills me, like we talk about gifts and stuff, like Taylon's scrambling around. Arkansas is up 14-0, and he's scrambling around, and he finds Broden in the back corner of the end zone.
Oh,
and if that's caught, that is a backbreaker. 21-0 is a backbreaker. Like you don't mentally recover, in my opinion, from going down that much, and that forces Oklahoma to change, their approach to everything, and Arkansas can do just about whatever they want. Broden's got to make that catch, and he has done some things in the camp and stuff that look outstanding, but that has to be caught. And if it is, then
it's tough to watch in slow motion when they kept showing it over and over again.
Yep.
That was tough. It looks
2
really
plays
bad,
later, Danny, pick 6 the other way.
Yeah, I know it. That's part of it, man. It just seems like so many of them go that way, Trey. But,
I know.
Man, there's a lot of hidden, and I don't want to keep you too long. I'm not sure if you're up against it or not, but I just go back, and I'm not blaming penalties as the sole reason that they lost the game. I mean, but, you look at the number 7 for 71, it's not just through the roof like it was last year, right? Against BYU, 14 penalties. It wasn't that. But when you look at each individual penalty, when they happen, why they happen, who committed them, and the direct impact that followed, I mean, it just seems like there's never a good time, obviously, for penalties. And I think there's 2 different types of penalties, right? Where some of them are just football. You're going to get a holding call on both sides every now and then. You're probably, in today's game, you're going to get a couple of PIs that go against you. You'll get some that go your way. You're going to have guys that accidentally face mask and horse collar trying to make it a play. But then you have this other category that Arkansas is not good enough to have the normal type of penalties plus the pre-snap, the post-snap, the stupid stuff. Not having personnel out there, that type of thing. They're not good enough to overcome that and the regular type penalties, and they keep doing it over and over again. I hate harping on it. I know coaches get touchy about the discipline stuff, but that's where they are, man. They finished 10th, 7th, and 10th in the SEC in penalties over the last 3 years, and so far they've put up 13 in the first 2 games. And I think, Oklahoma State had penalty problems too. But just the timing of some of these penalties and who's making them, you're backed up, false start, delay of game. Defensively in overtime, you dumping a dude on the head after playing an incredible game. That type of stuff, if they'll clean that up, hold on to the football, man, I think they got a chance to go upset some people this year. I'm impressed by most things, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear you. Danny West joining us again. Follow him at Danny West 24/7. One I thought they got away with, Danny, Oklahoma State. Arkansas saw it was the play where it was 2nd and 12, and Arkansas and Jaquindon Jackson, I think the first time he started cramping up around 6:50, 6:39 mark of the third quarter, and they had to sub Rodney Hill in. They did that in plenty of time. And Oklahoma State subbed in, and then at some point, one of the defensive linemen realized, like, oh, we got too many guys in here, and he jogs off. So the ref doesn't even get out of the way until 2 seconds are left. Like, I just thought Arkansas got screwed there. You also, I think, call a timeout, but Arkansas converted the next play. I mean, they hit a 19-yard pass
made
play.
Up for it.
But that just jumped out to me. But on your point, Danny, we do keys to victory and 5 burning questions every week, and Connor does this story, but I always have him. I'm like, hey, four of these keys to victory are always going to be the same. I want you to pick, the 5th one. But it's always penalties, turnovers, special teams, and injuries. We include those every single week. Arkansas lost the penalty battle. They lost the turnover battle. They lost on special teams, and a huge injury with having Jaquindon Jackson cramp up like he did. In the second half and not having him available. So they lost all 4 of those. They may have won on offense, maybe 1 on defense, but they lost those other 4 categories. I was on the 24/7 Sports show, and I trailed off on this on the Walking Talk because I was going to get to it. But I was on the 24/7 Sports show, and they asked, like, what's the key to winning this game? And I said, this is going to sound ridiculous, but winning the game. Winning the game is the key to winning the game, like completing the win, because Arkansas has had such a hard time in these close games at the end. So the secret to winning the game is finishing and winning the game. Like, that's literally it.
Yep. I'm with you, man. And what's the answer for that? How do they get the monkey off their back? You got to go do it. It's as simple as that. There's no substitute for it. You just got to figure it out.
Yep.
And hopefully not this weekend. Let's save the figuring out a close game for later in the season, maybe.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and blow this one out this weekend.
I wouldn't mind just getting out of there with a little 41-17.
Yeah, make it a basic.
Yeah, get some
no drama.
Right. And then, save the good stuff for Auburn. Danny, any recruiting stuff? I know you love calling recruits after a win.
Yeah, man. After a loss, but
after a loss, yeah.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, this weekend, obviously, first home game on the Hill. Going to have some recruits. Heard from a few committed guys. Grayson Wilson, obviously, quarterback at Conway, been committed forever. He'll be there. Quentin Murphy, quarterback for Parkview, committed to Arkansas as an athlete. Calling him a wide receiver athlete for the Hogs. Adam Austin, one of your summertime 2026 commitments out of Oklahoma. Adam told me he'll be on the Hill. And then coming from Florida, evidently, is Kamari Williams. He told me he's trying to come to the Hill this weekend out of the Panhandle area down in Florida. So that's a long trip. I'm sure we'll hear from a bunch of guys throughout the week, but also hearing from some guys that Blake Cherry, for instance, told me he won't be able to come this weekend. Cameron Settles, he had planned on coming to some different games. So, not everybody on the commitment list will be there, but it's definitely an afternoon type game where you would hope as many guys within driving distance can hopefully make it.
All right,
outside of that, not a ton yet, buddy. Some of the bigger games later in the year, of course, will probably be where they steer a lot of these guys, if I had to guess.
Okay. All right. Appreciate you, Danny. Thanks for
You
hopping
got
on.
it, man.
All right, everybody, follow Danny West at Danny West 24/7. As he said, they're going to start steering recruits for some of these bigger games that are coming up, but it would be nice if Arkansas had some wins. If I could steer you to Ozarks Go for a moment, check them out at 479-684-4900. You can reach them at ozarksgo.net/hog and use the promo code BIDDY1 to get 1 month free. Northwest Arkansas, parts of Oklahoma, ever expanding, getting out in parts of Rogers, everywhere else. So if you need better internet, which you might, my experience with other internet companies has not been as good. You may be having great internet, and that's great if you do. I've always had issues before with past internet service providers, but have not with Ozarks Go. I've had experienced 100% uptime, so that's great, right? That's what I always say. It works. It works. Check them out, ozarksgo.net/hog, and use the promo code BIDDY1 if you're a first-time user, which why would you be? I mean, maybe if you're moving or something. Been with these guys for over 3 years before they were ever a sponsor. Trey Biddy stamp of approval. Okay, questions, comments? Let's see what people got to say here. Brandon Ward says he's still depressed today. I get you, Brandon. Trey Andrews says, Trey, I've always tried to give the coaches the chance, but it's time to move on from Sam, let Bobby run it for the rest of the season. Well, I get the frustration. Trust me, I do. I understand it. I also don't know that there's going to be any benefit really to saying, hey, Bobby, in addition to running the offense, now you're going to run the team. There's still a lot to play for this season. There are opportunities for Arkansas to win. I don't know that anybody went into this season saying Arkansas is going to win 9, or something like that. Maybe some people, but I think most people are thinking, 5, 6, 7. 5 probably gets Sam out of here. 6, 7 may keep him. There are opportunities, guys. I mean, there are. Like, what the problem for me that I had a problem. The problem for me that I had a problem with was I would have felt a lot more comfortable about this team if they were in year 2 under Petrino's offense versus year 1 because of what just happened. With these players, all that kind of stuff. Just like, they'd have had Jaquin Jackson last year. Well, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. They probably would have had, gone to a bowl game and, been a little bit better. But so, yeah, that's kind of where I am. Is I think that there's still a lot to play for. I think the best possible scenario is for Arkansas to win games and keep this staff intact and keep the recruiting class intact and move forward like that. And I think that's the best possible outcome. But you come to a point where there's a breaking point. Like, you got to beat Auburn or Texas A&M. You got to. I don't know that I give them much of a chance against Tennessee at home. Tennessee looks really good, and they got a quarterback, and they get a bye week right before after 3, 4 total, but 3 really emotional games in 4 weeks for Arkansas. So got to win. You cannot go 0-3 in those games and come at home and lose to Tennessee. At that point, you just kind of like, what now? I mean, you know what I mean? Okay. Lack of quarterback pressure, Matt Hodges brings that up. Yeah, they did not get a lot of good pressure on him, but I also thought that maybe they're just really keying on that run and making sure they stopped Ollie Gordon, which they did a fantastic job stopping that guy. I mean, he was the best running back in the country last year and returns his offensive line and the quarterback. Every time I refer to Bowman from now on, it's going to be like this. Alan Bowman. I think I called him Andy earlier, but he deserves to be called Alan. What are you doing, dude? Like a clown out there. Skills says we look so good. The heartbreaker is just playing not to lose. Yeah, I mean, as the saying goes, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Scratch that, reverse it. Timothy Long says if things go south from here, do I think they'll offer the head coaching job to Bobby, and would he take it? I don't know. I think like all you guys think, I just don't want to say it. Gil McGarity says, I see anything that surprised about the team that surprised me beside the outcome. I mean, the fact that they were so dominant early on, and really a lot of times when they had to have it, like they didn't get it finished in the end, but um, they never should have been in a situation where they had to go get it at the end. And they moved the ball down the field, and they ran out of time. I think, if there was a minute 30 on that clock, I think they probably would have scored a touchdown and won the game. But the fact that the offense was clicking as well as it did, even though they had a few miscues with the turnovers. I mean, just two turnovers. That surprised me a little bit. The fact that they were actually able to not just contain Ollie Gordon, aside from that last play, they stopped him. I mean, he couldn't do jack against them. I mean, 17 carries, 49 yards, 2.9 average. That one play at the end, the 12-yard touchdown. I mean, otherwise he's like, 36, 37 yards on 16 carries before that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Arkansas lost this game. Oklahoma State capitalized. I don't want to shortchange Oklahoma State for winning the game. Okay. They capitalized. There's two parts to it: the gifts you give and the other team making you pay for it. And they didn't always make Arkansas pay the ultimate price of, scoring a touchdown. Arkansas stopped and held them to a field goal. But at the end they did. And on the pick six, they did. I mean, 13 points in regulation. I think the other 18 were all things that Arkansas did that Oklahoma State was able to punish them for. That's how so many of these games on this level are decided. Being punished for making mistakes. How bad does the other team punish you for making the mistakes? And Oklahoma State didn't always punish Arkansas to the max. Arkansas just made enough mistakes to where a little punishment here and there was enough, and 18 points off of it. For the most part, blocking, I don't think blocking was lacking for the most part. They had some miscues. They had some error, especially in the second half. They had some MAs, I think, definitely, but I don't know that blocking. They plowed open some holes for Jaquin and Jackson. That wasn't not just like a crappy defensive front. For the most part, Talon had time to throw. There were times where he didn't. There were times where he's got to get rid of the ball. If 4 seconds goes by and you can't find anybody open, you got to throw it away. In most cases. I don't know about 42-10 Taylor, but they should have won by like 17 at least. I felt like three scores. And I saw a lot of Oklahoma State reporters, like, that's what frustrated me a little bit. I wrote an article about that before the game. That the Oklahoma State reporters and stuff are picking 3 score, and everybody, like all of them, almost to a man, are picking Oklahoma State to win by 3 scores. And I'm just like, there's just no way this is happening. Like Oklahoma State, I'm picking them to win by, I think, 4 points is what I picked to win by. They're not going to win by 3 scores. And ultimately should have lost the game. Could have lost the game, not should have. They should have won because they did the things that they needed to do. Josh Pate taught me that a while back. It's an important distinction between coulda and shoulda. They could have won the game. They not shoulda. Hopefully I cover some of Pittman's bad decisions. I mean, like, on Pittman's bad decisions, like, it's just like an overarching thing. Like, I don't know if I can point to something to say Pittman did this, but it's under his watch. It just seems like there's so many things that happen under his watch that lead them to go 2-10. The one thing that he did that I did not like, aside from things like making sure all the players on defense know on 4th and 4 with the game, they have to score a field goal, that they're not going to run a play, even though that worked out for Arkansas incorrectly. Like, aside from like things like that, or just getting on Cross Johnson's butt and be like, don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. And I saw Scott Fountain talking to him. I don't know what he said to him, but aside from things like that, the overarching thing, the only thing that really I didn't like, and I say this as somebody who always says take the points, and I know what analytics say and things like that, but it feels like Sam Pittman, whenever it comes to Should we punt or should we not? Should we kick the field goal or should we go for it? It seems like he's operating at a 75% clip of making the wrong decision, and ultimately, these are the decisions that cost you games. And it seems like he always makes the wrong choice. And I thought he made the wrong choice on not kicking that field goal, deciding to go for it on 4th and 5. There's a big difference in 4th and 1 and 4th and 5. I thought that was the wrong choice. And I can say that confidently because I always say, kick it. Take these points. If you say have 100% confidence and you feel great about your kicker from 42 yards in and you got a 40-yard field goal, then you should kick it on 4th and 5. That would be the one thing where I would directly point to Pittman as a decision-making situation and say that you did that wrong. Yeah, I did do the R. Kelly. My mind's telling me no. We're the best almost team in college football, says Scott Warford. Yeah. Bob Magnet says he wants to know when they win 4 or 5 games in a row. Until then, just can't take it. You'll be back. You'll be back. I say this all the time. Wild Worth Outdoors says 2-10 season. I don't know about that. They're going to win their second game tomorrow, and they'll beat Louisiana Tech. So, yeah, 4 or 5 games. I always make this point. People get divorced. They lose touch with their best friends from high school or college. Don't even talk to them again. But there's a couple of relationships in this human world that you cannot separate from, for most people. Your kids and your team. Your team may be the United States of America. It may be the Republican Party, it may be Democratic Party. It may be West Virginia. It may be Cal Bears, it may be Auburn Tigers, it may be the Arkansas Razorbacks. But for whatever reason, as much as you say, I'm done, I'm tired, I'm taking the pictures off the wall, I've broken my television, I'm done with them. No, you're not. As toxic as the relationship is, as much as they hurt you, you still keep coming back for it. I don't know why. I don't know what that is. It's ingrained in us. But it's something along the same lines of maybe the pride you feel in your country or whatever other team that you're on. Arkansas is your team, and maybe you feel taken advantage of, and maybe they do take advantage of you. They absolutely take advantage of you. they without question take advantage of you. It's not easy sometimes being a fan, but man, those moments where something special comes together. It's kind of like that last shot in golf. You're like, I'm done with this game. I hate it. Why am I doing this? And then, you have a chip in from 60 yards out or something. Maybe more of a pitch. Okay, everybody. I appreciate all the comments. Appreciate all the viewers. Had over 1,000 today. I understand. I don't expect the same 1,700 viewers that we had last week. And I understand it's going to go down a little bit. People lose a little interest. You still carry them in your heart, though, as much as you hate them sometimes. It's like a love-hate with the Hogs, isn't it? Anyway, thanks to Danny West for hopping on. Appreciate all of you guys and your comments and your likes and your thumbs up and your reviews. Need all that stuff. And sign up at HawgSports, HawgSports.com. Still a lot of season left. And right now I'm still at 5 wins just because I need to see it. You guys know I talked about that. But, man, it wouldn't surprise me to see them do something. It would surprise me, and it wouldn't at the same time. I really like the offensive scheme and defense, what I see out of them. And I think they got the players. It's just stop finding ways to lose games. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.